Holy shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of Past the Bleach podcast. I am your host, Josh Pavitt, and I'm joined today by Scott, Alex, and his friend, who I believe is also... No, I forgot his name. Amin. So today's topic is play to win content and DLC. If you guys want to get in touch with the podcast, if you want to become live on air, you can go over to Skype, add us on Skype, Past the Bleach podcast. We can go over to Discord as well. Discord link is down below. So let's just kickstart this off. General thoughts on, let's say, DLC, for example, and how it has an impact on games.
Works, mate?
Yep, it's good.
Well, DLC as a whole, it should be made illegal.
What?
To a certain degree, okay, it should be made illegal. For example, when you release a game, and you've got to be a witness to this, when you release a game, you need to release a game, not release 3/4 of a game, and then release the last little bit of DLC, which quite alarmingly is coming up quite a lot on games on Steam and on mobile devices, where they'll give you the first episode free, entice you in, and then you have to purchase the rest to enjoy the rest of the game.
Sounds like Telltale.
Exactly. That is a prime example. Why not just make the whole game, release the whole thing, and just slap a $40 price tag or £40 price tag on it, and then just go, there you go, there's the full game right in front of you.
Because episodic means money. Because more people who are more poor are more likely to buy the episodes than they are to buy a full game at full price.
Exactly. And this is why I'm saying they should just make it illegal. Just abolish it.
I think the idea of DLC should be subjective. Like, when The Witcher 3 came out, it was an amazing game, beautiful. Everything just worked. There was no DLC at the time. It was a full game. You had at least 400 hours of gameplay. And then when they brought out the DLC, it just completely changed the dynamic of the game. It just made it even better.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the game. If a certain game is shit to start off with, don't try and make it better with DLCs. If a game is already as good as it gets, you can just make it a bit more sweet with like another DLC just to add on the amount of hours it takes to finish the game, or to just add more playable hours. That's what I think anyways.
I think the whole point of DLC really should be is to add on content, not lower it. It should be adding more content to it.
That's the difference between add-ons and DLC. That's the fine line on sort of digital content nowadays. Is that there is a lot of people, a lot of companies that will release add-ons, which add on to the game, which make the game, as you said, more enjoyable or expand further, and so on and so forth. For example, like the Fallout series, that's a big game as it is.
Yeah.
Same with Skyrim. That's a big game. Like it's countless hours people put into that, and they released, in my opinion, add-ons to make and to expand even further into sort of like the universe of what these games are.
Because actually in Skyrim, the DLC is not called DLC; it's actually called add-ons.
Exactly. They know. They know. Bethesda know straight away. Like, because if you think about another Bethesda game, Borderlands, that runs parallel with the what you're calling it at the moment add-on packs, because they released a standalone game that was fantastic. The latest one they brought out, sort of quite a few people won the nod about it. Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2, if you haven't played it, go and play it. It's a fantastic game. You can sink countless hours into it, and you just keep going. And they released add-ons for it. They released tons of add-ons for it, and they were actually classed as add-ons because they did not affect the core gameplay. They just expanded it and just gave you the Thunderdome DLC, where it was like a massive arena where you battle it out and you go on against waves of enemies similar to Gears of War Horde mode and stuff like that. But then you've got DLC that Pav announced in the last podcast that we did, and Alex did as well, which was the DLC for games like, I'm going to get shot in the foot for this, Call of Duty.
Oh God.
Exactly. Where, as they stated, and I did try and fight the corner, but it was sort of like a to and fro situation, and it was they were releasing things that were game breaking to the actual game, specific weapons that were being released and stuff like that. And this is where the fine line between DLC and add-ons is drawn, and it's where money overpowers the content of the game completely.
See, I think people assume when they hear DLC, they get a bad taste in the mouth because they think DLC only adds on to a game. But you can get a DLC which makes you different to other players, say like online games, like League of Legends, Rocket League, Hearthstone,
Star Wars Republic.
Yeah, so people buy DLC to make them stand out and be different, buying like items,
like
upgrades.
customization packs.
Yeah, I don't think it should be grayed out in the actual game. If a DLC should only be given to games that are actually finished and completed, then you can add on DLC. But there are certain games, that online games, they require DLC in order for them to make money. Like League of Legends is a completely free game. It's completely free. The only thing you're paying for is not to make yourself better, but to look nice, to differentiate yourself from other players. In that case, I think DLC is okay.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that front because I think the opposite. If you're someone that doesn't want to invest a lot of money into games, you're basically left with a generic pool of basic champions. If you want to go more advanced and you want to play these high mechanical champions like Riven, for example, who is one of the most highly mechanical champions in the game, then you have to put a bit of time and effort into racking up the IP to get it, unless you want to spend money on the game. So unless you want to be dealing with champions with such a basic set like Annie, like a Mumu, Master Yi, you're not really going to benefit if you're playing against these people that have invested tons and tons of money into games.
Not necessarily, because if you're that interested and that engorged within League of Legends, you could easily, and I mean easily, rack up enough IP in a very short amount of time. I've got all champions unlocked, and I'm currently sitting on 125,000 IP. So whenever a new hero comes out, I just buy it straight away. But there's no real pay-to-win aspect. There is a very, very minuscule one, which is when either a new hero's released and they're deemed incredibly overpowered, or if someone receives a buff and they are then incredibly overpowered. But then it still comes down to skill and mechanics and knowledge of the game to counter. Like,
definitely,
I play it a lot. I've not played it. It's quite weird and hypocritical of myself because I've not played it for the past fortnight. But when the new heroes come out, or as soon as they get announced, because I'm that engorged into the game, I'm immediately on the forums or finding out about the new heroes, what the new kit does, what that does, what's the ratios on their abilities, and then I instantly look for the counter, because I know for a fact, if I jump into ranked on the day they release them, people have forked out, I don't know, I think it's like $7.99 roughly for the new hero. They're going to jump straight into rank with it, and then I'm going to go, right, okay, yeah, you're going to pick that, I'm going to pick the hard counter that I know of through Reddit or through my own personal opinion, and I'm just going to slap you up and down the lane, and then so be it. So it's...
The thing is, with League, they do this thing where they have a free champion rotation where they give you, 10 or 12 free champions every week, which change out.
Yeah, and as soon as there's a new champion...
so you can always try the champions that you want to try without paying for the actual champion. And then when you feel comfortable with that champion within the first 3 or 4 days of playing it, then Riot are like, hey, you can either earn the IP to buy the champion, or you can just pay money and get the shortcut, and then just get the champion just there and then, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah, exactly.
On top of that, you get the new champion that they bring out 2 weeks after it's been released on the free rotation as well. So DLC isn't always a money-making scheme. It's just like a shortcut, if you'd like. There are a lot of lazy people.
By the time that they've released those champions on the free rotation, they've been hard nerfed. If they come out and they're extremely broken like Zaya and Raken were, then they're gonna get hard nerfed. So then when you get the chance to play them, they're not as OP as what they were.
What is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with bringing out a new champion, let it being tested out for a while, and then finding out what's wrong with it, and then once it's been fully like shape shifted into what Riot wants the champion to be, there's nothing wrong with that being in the actual game. Like for other people to play, so they can be like, okay, yeah, this champion's well-rounded. This champion is meant to be made for what it does. This champion is great for what it's good for. Things like that. I think that's a good idea. It's not always about making money.
See, going the way of shortcuts and stuff like that. Does any of you remember the game Battlefield Bad Company 2?
Yep.
Because in that you could buy shortcuts to get all the gear for the relevant classes, and I think they were charging. I think in UK it was $4.99. I think it might have been $8.99 in the very beginning, and then they brought the prices down. But they were charging $4.99, and you could skip right to the very end of that specific class and use every single weapon that was available for them. And people were hiatus about that. They were on their high horses about that because you shouldn't do it. It ruins the fun of the game and stuff like that. Bearing in mind they only released that, I think, 2 years after the game had officially released. So it gave people that just bought the game a shortcut to get straight into the action with the decent weapons and so on and so forth. But yet again, it's the same style of gaming. It was down to skill and mechanics and positioning and stuff like that. So this DLC, add-ons, vanity items, everything like that is a very fine line between each and every category because of what DLC has become. Like, DLC should be a universal terminology now for gamers all around, because there's so many things that you can do. Right, obviously we're going over pay to win games as well. Technically, you're paying for DLC there. That's digital content that you're purchasing.
Yeah,
it may be 1,000 coins for I don't play it, but Clash of Clans. You may be purchasing 1,000 coins for them. That is still digital content. That is still technically in the boat of DLC.
The majority of these games, like MMOs, League of Legends, Smite, etc., the majority of the stuff that you buy on those games are cosmetics. They don't add generically to the in-game hours sort of aspect that you would like a game to introduce. There are other games like World of Warcraft who I know that are releasing DLC or these additional add-on packs, so to speak, like every couple of months, and they're making money out of it. On top of that, also, you have to pay a membership fee. I think it's like £10 a month to play the game, and then they want you to spend £15 a time every time you want to buy this DLC, which I think is bollocks, quite frankly.
I agree. I think that MMOs, as a rule, should follow it's free to play the game, but if you want to get badass at the game, you've got to pay into it to a degree. Like, in the day, it's to help support the companies, make sure the game remains. I mean, you look at something like Star Wars Galaxies, which is an old MMO that died out just before the Old Republic came out. This game was amazing. I loved that game's bits. You had to pay to get the game, but the actual DLC, as you'd call it, the expansion packs were actually free. If you paid for the membership, you got to play the expansion packs for free.
Yeah. There are some games that do it well, like Overwatch. You can't just go buy skins with real money. You can't just go buy stickers and sprays with real money. You got to use that money to buy crates and boxes, and then whatever you get in that crate or box is what you get. You don't choose what you get; they just give you whatever they want to give you.
And
that's
I think
a problem,
that's wrong.
though.
I think that's wrong.
Yeah, there was a problem with that because Blizzard themselves were called out by the community on the understanding of what the odds were for specific drops, specific rarities of drops. And over in, I think it's China, by law, they have to receive or be shown what the odds are, because it's a big thing over there with gambling and stuff like that. Blizzard actually had to send and announce what the odds were, and I'll have a look up in a second and see if if they did actually release them. But by law in China or Japan or wherever it was, they have to release the odds on any style of gambling, because that's what it's classed as. For example, Counter-Strike, Valve had to release the odds on what the odds were to get a knife or to get the exotic weapons and stuff like that, the skins, sorry. So Yeah, it can sometimes be sort of like, obviously, if you spend, I don't know, what is this, £2.49 now for a key on CS:GO. Depending on what case you get, it can range from 3p up to, I think, 25 quid now because of the Bravo 2 case. You make that gamble and you get that knife or something in the first box, then by God, you have just hit a profit margin of about, I think it's going to be over 1,000% straight away.
Right.
So they can be the lucky chances that you get, but there are people out there that, for example, Phantom Lord, he's just gone off the radar now. He's disappeared completely because he used to put thousands of dollars into opening CS:GO cases, and then used to gamble them on the gambling websites where you could send your skins into the website and gamble and stuff like that. There was a big thing about that last year, and loads of streamers, top streamers, were slammed and court cases and this, that, and the other because people were actually ripping people off through it.
The biggest two names that I can remember from that that outburst were Syndicate and Team Martin, because they were releasing these videos saying that they were sponsored by CS:GO Lotto, when in fact, if you did the research, you would also find out they weren't sponsored by them at all. They owned the fucking website.
Yeah, it was exactly the same with Phantom Lord, and Phantom Lord, with his website, was actually getting professional players that were none the wiser about what was going on, and they were chucking in thousands as well. And when it all kicked off, you can check Phantom Lord's Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. He's not been on Facebook or Twitter or Twitch or anything in over a year. Completely fell off the grid. Completely. As soon as everything went up and this website was being shut down, this streamer was being taken to court, he upped and he just packed his bags and went. That was it, gone.
This is another thing that I also have a problem with as well.
Right,
the fact that in games like CS:GO and Overwatch, not so much Overwatch, but CS:GO mainly, like the chances of you getting a rarity for the money that you're spending are literally one in a million. The chances of you getting a knife, you have to spend thousands of pounds on crates before you even have the chance of getting a knife. What makes me sick is that people then take those items that they win, that will get these from these chests, and they stick them on the community marketplace, and they put ridiculous price tags on them. The most expensive knife on CS:GO sold for £12,500, and that's just for a cosmetic skin within a game.
What's wrong with that? If it's that rare and it's worth that kind of money, there's nothing wrong with it being priced.
There's no skin on any game that is worth in the excess of about 50 quid. In my opinion, that is borderline it should go to. You shouldn't have to fork out thousands of pounds before you have a chance of getting a rarity, especially for a game that's making so much money like that. You should be able to earn those sort of.
The money is not going to the company; it's going to the person who owns the skin initially.
But how much money have people put into that game?
That's true, but like I said before, DLC, the argument about yep.
It's like gambling in a sense that it's like scratching a scratch card, right? In the sense,
yep.
If you go to the shop and you spend £5 on a scratch card and you win, say, 20 quid, what are the chances of you walking away with that 20 quid? Very, very fucking slim. The chances are you'll just put that £20 back on the fucking scratch cards again. So that's.
But then this is then down to gambling and addiction. It's not down to the DLC or the pay-to-win factor, is it? It's literally, this is where vanity comes into play.
It's a good thing you dropped the term addiction, because for you to invest so much money into a game for this sort of content, like pay-to-win content, where you're receiving items at such a low level that you don't really get until you're a high level, that's an addiction in a sense. There are people that have made multiple accounts on games because they're getting bored of playing on the same max level account over and over again, and then they just make a new account.
See, I can understand to a certain degree where you're coming from, but with games like Counter-Strike and stuff like that, with the add-ons, there is none at all. There is no way that you could buy your way to the top. Well, technically there is, obviously, if you want to go down the routes of hacks and all of that malarkey. But everything else in there, it's all vanity items. Every single bit of it is vanity. You're talking the colour of the skin, the style of the skin, everything like that. It does not impact the game in any way, shape, or form. Even the new knives that they brought out for Counter-Strike Go, including the Shadow Daggers, which is the two-hand daggers that they have still got the exact same attack rate as the M9 bayonet. There is no edge that you can get. There is certain games, though, that unintentionally will give you a certain edge. For example, if you wear the Heartseeker Vayne skin in League of Legends, it's technically got a smaller hitbox compared to the original Vayne skin and all the others. So there's very minuscule things that sort of can... It's not drastically impactful, but it still gives people maybe a small edge. Like you can imagine being in a team fight and that one skill shot that would have hit a normal Vayne, wearing that skin, it's obviously gone ski whiff and
it's like
missed.
the Blitzcrank skin, isn't it? Like Blitzcrank, that skin is banned in competitive gaming for the sheer fact that there's a. It's not even so much as a bug; it's just an animation differential in his Q that basically doesn't come up as a Q, so to speak. It doesn't look like his Q's coming out.
But as you stated, it's banned in competitive play. It can be played in normal games.
The thing is, with Riot, they always do a patch update, and they're always looking for like reviews and stuff from their players. They care about what their players think. So if a player feels like it's OP, if a champion's too OP, or if a skin is too OP, they will take the skin off the game, try and get a fix for it, and then get it done within a month or so.
So why haven't you taken it this long?
All games should be doing that. Sorry?
You have to speak to Riot. Riot is an ever-growing company. That Riot in the past 7 years alone has exploded, and I mean literally exploded onto the scene. If you take into consideration the two main fellas behind Riot Games started off with a mod for Warcraft 3, which was Dota. They ended up going off doing their own thing, and they made a multi-billion-pound company that now, at this point in time, expands the world. It's not like cricket, where cricket covers England, India, like Australia and Africa.
Yep.
This company covers the globe. You could, I reckon, in all fairness, I reckon you could go to the Tibetan mountains and say, have you ever heard of League of Legends? And they'll probably go, yeah. Well, not in that accent, obviously, because they're not British, but they're Tibetan. But they would probably go, yeah, okay, yeah, we know.
We've got a comment coming over from YouTube from Macca Beneficial. I believe that high-price skins in CSGO and H1Z1 gives you confidence, making you more a comfortable player. That's what I've heard anyways. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, yeah. It's like with any cosmetic, you might feel more badass if you're in a particular outfit. I mean, this is going back to the one point of this whole thing that I actually really know about, which is MMOs. Like with Star Wars: The Republic, I have a specific outfit that I use for every character because I bought that outfit, and that outfit is unlocked for every character I ever create, and it makes me look solid badass, and I feel like a solid badass playing with it.
It makes you stand out from the crowd, which was my original point.
Yeah.
People buy skins and people buy DLC to make them different in the online community to the rest of the players that are on there. You feel like you're more limited, so you're part of this exclusive club.
It makes you feel like an individual among a group of people that have access to very similar things to you. I mean, that's the one thing I like about MMOs, that customizability. I mean, I don't play MMOs just for the sake of leveling up and seeing a storyline. I mean, I love story-based games. I literally live for them. That's the reason why I don't really play like MOBAs and FPS games. I don't like the being stuck in one place aspect. I like it to progress. But progression in those sort of games is about levels. It's about gaining new weapons, new items to appear stronger to other people. But the fact of the matter is, like, you can go on Call of Duty and take on someone who's a Prestige Master, and they might be absolute gobshite at the game, but they've played it for so long that they've got all this badass shit. But the game's leveled out in a way that anyone can access those items. Just being prestige is like a way of saying, look, I've done this much stuff in the game. I've played this game for this long. But it doesn't make you an any better player. I've played against Prestige Masters and completely trounced them. And I am the shittest among shit when it comes to FPS games. We was playing Black Ops 2 earlier. He was like just killing it, and I was just like, oh no, not happening.
Yeah, see, like
skill.
Prime example of this. I don't know if you guys are fully aware with the CS:GO skins and stuff like that. There's a skin called the M4A4 HAL. Okay, there was a lot of controversy about this skin.
Yeah, I know.
It was for the M4A4, not the silenced variation of the M4, but the normal bog standard one. Okay, what happened was obviously the community can upload their skins that they've created to Valve, and after a while of voting and stuff like that, Valve will go, right, okay, this was the top voter, we will now put this into the next case that we will release, and you will get a cut of how many cases that we sell. Case went out, this gun was featured in it, everyone was going nuts because it was such a cool looking skin, and I must admit it was a cool looking skin. Like, it was one of those things where if you got this skin and you was running around with this weapon, you looked like a god. And it was one of those guns where if you died, the team would probably kill each other to try and pick it up because obviously it was that nice. Well, due to popular belief, it was slapped with a copyright infringement on the actual wolf pattern that it had on the gun itself. So Valve stripped it from the box, redid the wolf, re-uploaded it, and then after I think it was 6 weeks, it was completely removed from Valve. Completely removed. But the skin still remained in the game and on the market. The skin is now worth $2,500. Alright, and that's for a skin. Alright? But if you have that skin, people will look up to you like you're a god. You could be the shittest CSGO player in the world. If you had that skin, you would have people falling at your feet. You'd have messages day in and day out. Would you like to sell it? Would you like to sell it? Would you like to sell it? Because it is such a big thing. Well, another game as well that you could put into this category. I don't know much about it because it's got one hell of a learning curve to it, and that's EVE Online. They've got a ship on there called the Revenant. I think this thing costs I think it's like $9,000 or something like that. I think there's a ship called a Titan or something, and I think about 2 years ago there was a massive fight on the server, and this Titan cost about 30 grand in real money, and this thing was shot down in a massive war, all because someone wouldn't pay a fine, and two factions went head to head, and someone ended up 30 grand out of pocket in real world money.
It just goes to show the stupid.
Honestly, tough shit.
It just goes to show the stupid amount of money that can be made from it all, though. I mean, let's talk about the competitive scene for just a short second. Like, if you go onto like the wiki for League of Legends for CS:GO, you get to see what all these prize pools are worth. For MSI, the mid-season invitational for League of Legends, for those of you that watching that don't know what that is. It's when you got the spring split and the summer split. It's that time in between where they basically get the best teams from every different region. They sort of go off against each other, not worlds as such. It's like if you took football, for example, you had the Premier League and then you got the Carling Cup, which isn't really considered a trophy in a sense. The MSI would be the Carling Cup. It's such a very, very small tournament. However, the prize pool for MSI currently sits at $250,000 plus 40% of the Conqueror Karma sales. Right? Yeah. I worked it out. The people that finish in 12th and 13th in MSI, they take a 1% cut. That's $2,500 each per team that finished last in the tournament. Yeah. Plus 40% of the Conqueror Karma skin sales, which is probably doubled that prize pool. And they took another cut of that as well. It goes to show as well that the money being made in such games as CS:GO, League of Legends, it's having such an influence elsewhere that it's now become stupid money.
I mean,
But it's only certain companies that
you
are
could
actually
say
doing that, though.
a better prize pool means better competition, which means it's just better if we're talking about esports here.
It's people would want to watch that.
People would want to watch that if there's a higher stake. There are better people playing. There's more competition. It's just more exciting.
People are money motivated. The fact of the matter is, if they have enough money to motivate them, they will work their asses off, which means that you'll get better entertainment out of it.
Yeah, I don't see a downside to that.
The fact of the matter is, it's not like it's coming out of our pockets. We're not the ones sitting there going, yeah, we're basically being taxed God knows how much money so that you guys can get paid for playing the game. No. The game is gone, right, well, this is being sponsored by so-and-so, so these guys are going to basically put in a shit ton to the prize pool in advert revenue. We're going to keep our cut so that the game can be supported, and the rest of it goes so that everyone else can get a taste. And honestly, I don't see a downside to that. That is, the fact is,
it's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
My problem with the cosmetics is the fact that you're spending such a stupid amount of money for something that doesn't add anything into the game at all, apart from something that looks quite fancy.
That's the thing, it shouldn't add anything to the game in that respect. I mean, if you basically make it so you can buy skill, if you basically, let's say you could buy skill, that would be shit. Why would I want to play with people who are significantly better off than I am and have basically bought their way into being good at a game? That would suck so much.
That's another thing I've got a problem with, but that's not what I'm trying to get across. What I'm trying to get across is, why should someone have to spend ridiculous amounts of money for something so small that isn't game impacting at all? Like Call of Duty, the DLCs, you get new maps, you get some new ground to play on. League of Legends, you get skins, doesn't necessarily give you anything new to go on. You still get the same builds, you still get the same meta, you still get the same outburst. There's nothing different on that game, apart from the fact that your champion looks slightly different from what it should be,
Exactly.
That's a problem that I've got, because you can buy champions in game with in-game currency, which have an impact on the game, right? But then you have to buy cosmetics. I think it should be the other way around. You should be able to buy skins with in-game currency and then have to buy the champions on top.
See, Riot have made do of that, because they introduced the loot boxes and the loot keys, where you need to get after each game, you either get a loot box or you get a key shard, and you need 3 key shards to open a box, which I think is brilliant because it encourages players to play the game more and get skins and get wards and get items
and get good
without paying money to the company. They can just earn their way into getting skins. Well. I think that's a brilliant idea. There's no money being involved. You're earning your way up the ranks. If you want to be lazy, like I said before, you can just as easily just buy all the shit. But I guarantee people who buy DLC or people who buy things onto their account to make them better in the game, they lose the satisfaction of the game within a matter of weeks or months. Say Clash of Clans. If you introduce someone to Clash of Clans, you have 2 people who play Clash of Clans. One person built their way up and the other person bought all their stuff. The person who bought all their stuff, they'll just lose interest within a matter of days, even.
You know, that's actually a good point. Like, my next door neighbor plays War Commander. We're talking like religiously. He's invested more money into that game than I can possibly imagine. You know, from my perspective.
Did you just say War Commander?
I think so, yeah.
I'm banned from that game for hacking the shit out of it. Just saying.
But basically, he's OP on the game anyway. But he's partly worked his way, partly bought his way. But you know, I get that some people like to put their money into games like that. I'm okay with people putting money into games because the fact of the matter is, if the game's not making money off you one way, it deserves, like, if you love the game, it deserves your finances. You know what I'm saying? Like, it shouldn't be purely, oh, well, all games should be free. Because if that was the way it worked, if everyone in the world torrented games, how fucked would we be? Because there would be no games.
There would be no games, exactly.
Okay, so now
on top of that,
we've gone from a different subject. We've gone from talking about DLC to pay to win content. For those of you who are just tuning in, you are watching the Path to Bleach podcast. This week's topic is pay to win content and DLC. If you want to get involved in the conversation, add the the Skype that you can see past the Bleach podcast on Skype, and we'll get you in. Or you can join in the Discord, which is linked down below, and you can also join in via that way. So I'll just want to switch over to the play to win content sort of aspect of this podcast.
Yeah.
And you brought up a good point about games like War Commander. Yeah, you have to you spend money in the game to get these items that have a massive impact on on the amount of damage or the amount of the skill that you have. There is very little skill involved in War Commander. I'll be honest. That's why I hacked the fuck out of it. But if we talk about Call of Duty, and someone in chat, Maca Beneficial, did bring this up, which is quite relevant. The fact that they bought in these crates on Call of Duty, that they give you different variants of guns, and these different variants of guns give you different stats, and it was the guns that were bought in by COD points, but it's like 30 or 40% more in damage. For example, the Marshals in Black Ops 3, they're ridiculous. Something like that, where it is extremely game impacting, to a sense you are doing more damage than someone that, say, hasn't spent loads of money on the game. Call of Duty is one game that I have never spent any money on things like loot drops. I genuinely think they are the worst of the worst. If you
they are the cancer of existence.
But see, that's the difference in style of gaming, though, because if you look at the majority of the mobile gaming that's going around at the moment, they are severely, like 90% of them are severely pay-to-win style games. There's a game, it's a war-style game that is I think it's like the top grossing apps at the moment. That's it. Thank you. I was trying to find out what the name was while I was waiting and listening to everybody speak. That game has grossed billions now. It has grossed so much money, it's unreal. But this is the key point. It's not because of the millions of people that play it. It's because of the small community of what they call whales that will put money and money and money and money and money and money, and they will keep chucking money into this game to be the alpha. Before we started the stream, obviously, I sent everybody through Skype a link to a fella. He chucked $2 million into a game to be the alpha, to be the top dog. And he even boycotted the game because he wanted the game fixed for other players so they could actually have a proper fight. That was the reason why he boycotted it, because he saw how much damage it caused of him putting all that money in.
I used to play Game of War, but then I stopped playing because this one player kept kicking my ass.
Exactly, and I bet you though, that one player must have put about 50, 60 quid in.
And that player was also the Legend 27.
Yeah, but it may have been spanned. It may have been spanned over, like, I don't know what. It could have been spanned over a couple of months. But still, if you was to put up free-to-play players against pay-to-win players, there would be a huge gorge between the two of them. Because pay-to-win just outshines everyone. Every game, without shadow of a doubt. If they've got a pay-to-win aspect in that game, that's it.
So this is...
Yeah.
I'm going to make a very, very bold statement. Every game that has pay-to-win aspects, they are legit the cancer of society.
I could disagree.
You could or couldn't?
Couldn't. I mean, I couldn't disagree. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if you've got a pay-to-win aspect to it, those games automatically make it so that real players who really want to play good at the game and want to earn their way up aren't going to get to earn their way up, because you've got people who are going in, like, their first day, they've got mummy and daddy's bank account, which is fucking limitless, and they're basically sweeping the floor with, like, 10-year bets on games. It's just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm actually going to retract my statement just a second, because there is one game I've just thought of. It has got pay-to-win aspects, but it's not necessarily you pay to win. There is a lot of mathematics and a lot of thinking behind it, that game being Hearthstone. There is a lot of strategic how to play your cards at the right time sort of
it's aspects. Like it's very similar in respect to, like, modern, like, let's go to old school non PC or non console based games like Yu-Gi-Oh! You have to buy the best cards to win, but at the same time, you need to be able to place them strategically to make any use of them. That's the same sort of principle.
Yeah. So those sort of games, I think we can sort of tick off that list. Like Cancer. Let's tick them off that list, for example. It's the games that Scott brought up a valid point about. I think the worst criminal when it comes to pay to win games are the mobile games. So games like I'm going to throw a couple of just generic ones out there. The Family Guy game, the Simpsons, that Simpsons game, because
I've actually got one for you.
No, because in the game you have to buy. You've got the in-game currency, then you have the currency that you can't earn that you have to buy to get these like extremely rare sort of items that you have no chance of getting in the game. I think if you're that sort of game where you have to spend stupid amounts of money to get this content, it's not for me, thank you very much.
Yeah. See, this is the problem though. You've got to think, we're thinking of it from a gamer's point of view. Now turn the tables and think of this in a business side and think, right, okay, so for example, if we was to make a game as we would like to make a game, for example, DLC kept to a minimal just for expansions, pay to win aspect, let's get rid of that. Our server costs would end up killing us. It would end up breaking us.
That's not.
It really would.
I agree. Not agree. I disagree with that, because games like Call of Duty, right? You look at the statistics and you have a look at how much revenue they made on these games. I think Black Ops 3, which I think is the highest grossing Call of Duty game in the last 10 years to have been released. Their overall, I think the game cost them like something borderline to like $4 million or something like that. They made $18 million on the first week of sales. So to say that from a business perspective, add additional
By server running that you talk about.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, with them style of games, obviously I can see exactly where you're coming from. But the problem is with them games, it's a peer-to-peer network. So one person in that game is hosting the game and fighting between the two. What I'm talking about is if you was to go into the realm of mobile gaming, obviously, if you don't set up server-sided clients instead of personal clients, you'll be hacked to God knows oblivion, because obviously client-side compared to server-side, it's unimaginable what you can do on a client's app.
I mean, that's the reason why hacks and such exist in Call of Duty games, because it is peer-to-peer. Whereas server-side based games, like, for example, like, I know it's a bad example, but it's a mobile game, so it fits in the category. Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go is very much pay to win. It is very much pay to win. And it's one of those games, like, you either... Everything's server-side, so you don't pick what Pokemon spawn around you. So if you want to catch all the Pokemon that spawn around you, you need to buy the fuck out of Pokeballs. You need to buy the fuck out of, like, well, lots of different features. Then on top of that, you've also got to buy, now you've got the whole aspect of customization, which I'm okay with. In fact, I'm not going to lie to you, I actually bought character customization for Pokemon Go because my guy looks solid. The guy's got a t-shirt and jeans. You don't get that in the standard Pokemon Go.
Yeah, no,
it looks bad.
Like I said before.
Why do you want to touch? This is cosmetics. Go on.
What I do want to touch upon is there are certain games where DLC is not all DLC is bad. That's what I'm trying to put across. When Infinite Warfare came out and it was just shit. When it came out, no one bought it. Well, barely anyone bought it. So they brought out DLC where they made the Modern Warfare, COD 4 Modern Warfare, the remaster as a DLC. That was a good thing. Everyone enjoyed that.
It wasn't a DLC. It was I've got the game. I've got both versions.
Was it a season?
It was you had to buy the deluxe edition of the game. So in a sense, you were just paying for another game. You weren't paying for DLC. There is no way that's considered to be DLC.
I loved the fact that they did that, because that goes to show that they ballsed up so hard with Infinite Warfare.
That's
they
their
had
apology. That's their apology.
That ain't their apology. They knew, okay, and you can bleep this out or whatever, they knew they fucked up with Infinite Warfare on a biblical scale. They knew they ballsed that up, and the only way they could redeem themselves money-wise, because they knew, and even the sales, even today, with the remastered COD 4, the sales still today show that they ballsed up so hard. It was only for the fact that they remastered the COD 4, re-released it, only to go with the deluxe edition or whatever you want to call it, because people were crying for it to go standalone, and they wouldn't. They still haven't today.
Because they had to sell Infinite Warfare.
Exactly. So what they did was they fobbed off Infinite Warfare Remastered. You can put it as a standalone, or you can put it as a DLC or an add-on as such, or whatever sort of category you want to put it as. But it had to be put there because of how much of a colossal fuck up they made. So they used it
before the game was even released. If you paid attention to when the trailers are released, when the Infinity Warfare trailer dropped,
the dislikes.
in 24 hours,
the fucking
2.4 million views, they had 1.6 million dislikes.
Yeah.
Exactly. They had. It was.
That's a higher interaction rate than most YouTubers get across their channel.
Exactly. The most disliked video was Rebecca Black Friday. That's the second most disliked video on YouTube.
Yeah.
So that in itself should have told them
so
they fucked up. That in itself should have told them that they fucked up and they should have scrapped all fucking manufacturing of that game.
See, Infinite Warfare messed up so much, and they released the whole game for free on Steam for a whole week, and they just destroyed themselves because everyone was giving it 1-star reviews. Everyone was saying it was a piece of crap, it was not worth the money,
or it weren't worth being free.
It wasn't worth being free. They should pay us to play the game. Yeah, exactly. But we're going off the subject here when it comes to DLC. The fact that they brought up COD 4 as a bonus, that wasn't a bad idea. That was good
business.
They revamped everything.
And the reason why they did that, and I can say this wholeheartedly, the sole reason why they did that was because they knew that they done fucked up bad.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a list here of the 8 of the most awful paid DLC in video game history. Would you like to hear it?
Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, go on.
8th place is Battlefield 3, the Ultimate Shortcut Bundle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. The problem is twofold, right? Because you can buy the game, you can play the game, you can do everything and stuff like that. But this was released when it was released, and it was £10 or $10 for each class. So if you go into, I think there's 4 or 5 classes.
In a sense, that's pay to win more than DLC, but yeah.
But it is still DLC as such because
it's more pay to win. But yeah, I see your point. Yeah.
But take into consideration, okay, that you're not actually getting anything for it. If you think about it, you're not actually getting anything. You're just unlocking the content in the game you've already paid $40 for or 40 quid for. So if you want to do it for all 4 of the classes, you're practically buying the game again. And like that's not including the DLC. Obviously, Battlefield 3 received after that as well. That's pretty bad. If you want to shortcut it, obviously that's optional. You don't have to, but still, that's a kick in the nuts to anybody who wants to play the game properly and play it through as it should be played.
Exactly. No, that's the thing that bothers me. I feel like that you shouldn't have to pay. I feel like giving people the option to pay for what would take people years or months of effort, it's not right. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you put in months of effort and earn your way to the top, and then you just give people an option to fucking buy their way to the top. It's disgusting.
Here's the thing, though. Not everyone has the time to make their way to the top.
I'm not denying that.
So if someone wants to play on the same skill level as someone who spent a lot of time on the game, but not spend as much time on the game, what's to stop them to just buy all the things that will make them as good to get on that level? There's nothing wrong with that.
But then there stands the problem. The fact that there are people who are poor who might be really talented at the game, and they're working their asses off, and they're watching these fucking idiots with shit tons of money to burn, surpassing them and destroying them, even though they're more skilled.
I disagree. There are a lot of poor people who buy DLC, and if they will buy DLC for games that they absolutely love, If they love the game, no matter what kind of income they're making, they will still like spend some of the money that they have to buy DLC. I don't think all DLC is bad DLC.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
see,
no.
I agree.
DLC as a whole.
See, I agree to a certain point, but Battlefield 3, you could tell that DICE were thinking along the lines of when they released Battlefield Bad Company 2 with the shortcut system, because obviously we spoke about this earlier in the podcast about the shortcut system with Battlefield Bad Company 2. That was a good choice, but the key point with Battlefield Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3 was that Bad Company 2 released the shortcut 2 years after the initial game was released. So for people, so in other words, they were trying to keep the game alive by doing this, by keeping the continuation going and giving people that are bought into it at a later date a chance to jump straight into the action. But releasing it on day one, but to release it on day one is a bad thing, because it's just going to destroy gameplay. Because with these style of games as well, the longer you play, the higher the reward, obviously, because you get the more powerful weapons. Like you'll probably pick up a 50 caliber sniper and stuff like that. But on day one, if you was to release it, then it's just going to destroy the game straight away. For the people that can't afford to pay, they're going to have to sit there and obviously they're going to have to watch their KDA just go doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, because there's going to be no way of putting up with those weapons.
Right, yeah, carry on with this list. I want to see if I agree or disagree with any more of them.
Elder Scrolls Oblivion. The horse armor.
Oblivion was a fucking great game, but the fucking DLC was trash.
Horse armor.
The DLC was trash. Yeah.
Oblivion was a normal game filled with the brim with great content, but something was missing that would make the experience truly complete. Horse armor. Before your poor horses were naked. Can you believe that? Have you ever heard of a naked horse? Well, from what I've been reading up about this, they were charging people $2.50, so that's roughly about £2, I think, for the UK.
Yeah.
For horse armor. Problem being was that it was for one horse. You had to choose that one horse. So if you had a collection of horses of all different breeds and whatnot, you had to pay that price for every individual horse that you had. This was in 2006. The price has still not changed to today, and it's inflated as well. So if you think, if in 2006 you paid that $2, due to the inflation obviously going up and down and stuff like that, it's about £100. It's about £100 that you paid for that horse armor.
Yeah, again, it's every Elder Scrolls game, the additional fucking cosmetic bullshit, it's all been trash. But carry on.
Number 6, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike Color Packs. So
Pack's
this
very
was,
much like Chromas in League.
yeah, it's not bad or terrible. It's not good DLC, but color
It
packs
was
sometimes-
undesired DLC.
I think
Yeah, but-
it's milking it really, isn't it? Like
Yeah. Number 5 was the Madden 2010 Elite Status.
yeah.
So this is where a certain type of gamer who will buy only one game per year. This year's Madden, someone thought that these innocent, delicate flowers were aware of the creeping industry of the unnecessary DLC into the world of video games. So they used it as a testing ground for a wild array of rip-off DLC purchases. But the one truly piece of DLC was called the Elite Status. It cost 500 Microsoft points.
Yeah.
And all it was hard mode for online play. So literally, online mode, it was hard mode, so it just increased the difficulty. So it's like, obviously if you're playing FIFA, hard mode, you take control of the keeper to a lot more of a specific standpoint and bits like that. So yeah, so that's bad. That's really bad. That to increase the difficulty online, you had to pay. This is that thing of add-on and DLC. This is that borderline that we were speaking about at the very beginning of the show. Was the borderline between unfinished games.
Right.
Right,
What else is on the list?
Beautiful Katamari. I've seen this game, but I've never played it, and that was for extra levels they were charging people for. Third place anything for Xbox Live or PlayStation Home Avatar.
Yes! Thank fuck!
So
Okay.
anything for your Avatar. Like, in all fairness, I have to agree, paying £7 for a piece of armour that nobody really, like, in all fairness, with my Avatar, I think I had a pair of I had a Skull Candy top and a pair of jeans on my dude, and I got them for free. I think I got them in, like, when I bought a drink or something when I was up in London one day or something. But I would not be paying £7 or £8, whatever it was, for a suit of freaking, I don't know, N7 armour for or something like that. It just, nah.
To be fair though, I bought Desmond's hoodie for like 50p on the Xbox store. I've still got it on to this day.
There are some games
So Desmond from Assassin's Creed,
there are some games
I
on
literally
Xbox
bought his
Live-
hoodie.
There are some games on Xbox Live and PSN Network that sometimes you do get like additional content with the games that you buy. But I can't really complain about that. But then
Yeah, like Fable.
yeah, but then when you're charging people
You get
like
you
£7
actually get the
for a
armor
suit,
pack.
no.
Fable. Yeah, fuck that.
This one was pretty funny. I don't know the price of it exactly. I'll have to look into it. But it was the Saboteur, and it was the Midnight Show. This DLC that you could purchase, it literally made...
Oh, I know what one this is.
Yeah, everybody had their tartars hanging out. Like,
Knockers out.
yeah, everybody.
Get your tits out, love.
And like, for an 18+ game as the Saboteur was, as it was, like, in the beginning, why does that have to be DLC? Why couldn't that just be sort of like a profanity filter? Sort of, like in most games now, like, for
Because
example...
porn DLC.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. Alright, do also in number 1. Train Simulator 2012. And everything. Absolutely everything. It's going to cost you over $1,000. Yes, 1,000. To buy every single piece of DLC.
Fuck that game with a fucking passion.
$1,000,
You know what?
right?
League of Legends, right?
Yeah, go on.
Go on. So
Oh, no.
to get every single champion in League of Legends, you would need to spend about $600 to get every single champion, like, to pay for it with real money.
I actually worked
That's
this out.
ridiculous.
I
on its own.
actually worked this
But
out.
people don't buy every single champion. People don't buy every single skin or every single thing. They only buy things that they want. They're not
actually
forced
sat
to
down-
buy skin.
I sat down and I actually worked this out to have every single. This was about a year and a half ago, mind. So if you take
Right.
away some of the newer champs that have been taken away, added in, sorry.
Yeah.
I worked out that if you wanted to buy every skin for every champion and own every champion, you needed to spend $6,500.
Yeah, I've read something up about that as well. But the only thing is that they made a great point. You don't have to have it. If you don't need it or don't want it, you don't have to buy it.
You don't need the skin. You don't need the champion.
Exactly. You don't. Like, in all fairness, you don't need any skin because there's no skin
Yeah.
really that makes that much of a dramatic impact in the game. It's all vanity. Whereas if you want to keep ahead of the curve, then obviously you are going to have to buy these new heroes that come out. Like, it's just how it is. But with number 1 being Train Simulator and everything, right, the amount of DLC, you don't have to buy it. But if you're a big train fanatic like Sheldon in The Big Bang Theory, he's probably bought that game, spent thousands on it, and probably bought it again because he enjoyed it so much. But $1,000 for DLC, that's just ridiculous. That is just
I mean, if you've
absolutely...
got the money, who's going to stop you? Who should stop you? If you've got the money to buy that kind of shit, then go ahead, go do you.
No, like I said, single player games, if there is like add-on content that you can buy of your own accord, fine, fair enough. Because you know what? It doesn't get in my way. I ain't going to be worrying about what you're buying on your game.
Yeah.
If I'm going to buy something on a game, it's because I want to buy it. It ain't because someone's forcing you to buy it. It's not like you're buying content that should have already been there. You're buying literally content that's been added after the fact because they thought, oh, this would be a good thing to add to the game. I mean, with the COD map packs, like the Season Pass, you buy the Season Pass in the theory that you're going to get more maps than are already basically there, and they're developing them as they're going along, which is good. I'm actually perfectly okay with that. And they give you a set list of maps, which is still plenty to play on, even if you don't download the DLC. Like with Black Ops 2, I've got no DLCs or anything. I just got the game. The standalone game is fucking amazing, though. I love that game to bits.
Right.
And it is, in my opinion, the best Call of Duty.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for an hour now, so we want to start wrapping the podcast down a little bit. I've got a couple of questions that have been brought to my attention against Maca Beneficial was, shock and fucking horror. So we'll touch on this subject, this question that he's asked. We'll touch on this properly in about 2 weeks' time when we do the podcast about competitive gaming. But Maca Beneficial, do you think that competitive players should be using modified controllers such as SCUF controllers, mouse and keyboards to be classed as pro, or should they use typical or basic stock equipment?
Everything, obviously, controller-wise, in all fairness, it's complicated because obviously there are multiple companies out there that are trying to make these controllers for professional console gaming players. Razer, obviously, they brought out their controller. Companies have started propping up everywhere with their modified controllers and stuff like that. I think, if you have a modified controller, as long as it does not impact within the game itself, for example, rapid fire controllers, they should not be allowed because that's not your work doing. It's not your fingers doing the work.
So in other words, if it's something that isn't affecting how you play the game, like it's not adding additional things that shouldn't be in the game, such as the rapid fire mode, then it should.
Yeah, rapid fire mode and stuff like that. Shortcut buttons, I don't see any problem with because you still have to physically.
It's just changing the way you position the
exactly. If you prefer to play with a certain controller, then you should be allowed to play with that controller. Let's take into Street Fighter, for example. Some people play with mouse and keyboard. Some people play with actual Xbox controllers. Some people play with
joysticks.
Fight sticks.
Yeah,
fight sticks.
Yeah.
Some people prefer the fight sticks to controllers. Some people say fight sticks give you advantage over controllers. Other people say controllers give you advantage over fight sticks. I think if you prefer to play with a certain controller, you should be allowed to play with that controller.
The only time that really rings true is like in FPS games. Like if you're playing with a controller, you're immediately at disadvantage over a keyboard and mouse player because keyboard and mouse player has the instant movement of a mouse.
Yeah.
A mouse can move instantaneously to the spot you want it to be at, whereas with an analog stick, unless you've got like the most precision touched fingers, there is no way in fucking hell you can react as fast as a mouse user.
I think that pretty much
someone might be
that shouldn't be. That answers the question in the sense that there's nothing wrong with using modified controllers if it doesn't add anything additional to your gameplay. It's down to personal preference.
But see, the thing is as well, you can't really compare controller against mouse and keyboard because I'd have to say 99.9% of all professional tournaments that you will see it is always the same console against the same console or the PC against the PC because the people that make these games or make up these tournaments, they know the difference. For example, Gears of War 4 a couple of months ago, they did actually open the floodgates between PC and Xbox. I've got Gears of War on PC, my wife has got it on the Xbox, and during that time, I'm shit at Gears. Alright, I'm going to put my hands up there. I am god-awful bad.
Anything console-based you're trash at, Scott?
I used to be really good until I moved over to PC Master Race.
GBK for life, man.
But
this guy's true PC Master Race.
So like.
That being said, I will never play a driving game with a mouse and keyboard.
No.
It's personal preference.
But yet again, though, I may be dog shit, but I actually managed to win a load of games, and I was sniping people that on console I was out sniping people because, as you stated,
of course.
But there was a lot of controversy.
That edge.
Yeah, you've got the DPI, you've got that pinpoint accuracy with a mouse and keyboard.
Edge. Yeah.
But there was a lot of controversy. Obviously, this is going back to what Maca was saying about the controllers and mouse and keyboard. There was a lot of controversy back earlier in this year with Overwatch on the console because in the top 500, this is their ranking system. You've got obviously silver, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, and then top 500. I think it was something like 75% of the top 500 players were using a special lead that you plugged into your Xbox, and you could use a mouse and keyboard.
The Commander.
Yep. And people were using that for console, and people were like, "Oh, that shouldn't be allowed," and blah 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 blah. And in all fairness, okay, as a PC gamer, I back them 100%. It should not have been allowed because it does put a significant disadvantage. It's a complete different
To
skill.
the average console gamer.
There's a piece of software that you can buy for your PC. It's a USB. You plug it in, but you can plug like a controller into it, and you can change the mapping, if that makes sense. So your keyboard, so the basic movement for CS:GO is WASD for up, down, left, right. With this piece of software, you could change your WA. You could basically make it so your analog stick on your controller was basically operating the same as a WASD. So it was changing. CS:GO, everyone plays it with a keyboard and mouse. There is no other alternative. Unless you play it on the Xbox, then you're completely irrelevant. But if you play it on PC and you want to take it as far as possible, it is not allowed in the rules and stipulations of the CS:GO competitive scene for you to use a controller. You have to use a keyboard and mouse just like everybody else. But there is a piece of software that you can, well, it's not software, it's hardware, should I say, sorry. You can plug into your PC, which then installs a piece of
software. There is software for that. It's called Xpadder. Xpadder allows you to map.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's software. I've got that. I use that for when I'm playing emulators on my PC, so that I can use a controller for like Pokemon or things like that.
Right. Okay. So
the other was it?
Yeah.
No, obviously. Pokemon.
Yeah.
Right, so the next question I've got is going to be the last question I'll take before I end the podcast. Maca Beneficial again, a bit off topic, but I think it could be a certain topic. Do people need to spend £200 to £3,000 to even be on par with competitive players without training?
No. Straight away, no.
No, that is disgusting. Like I said, I find that disgusting. Pay to win is always going to be cancer in my book. Always.
Well, no, it's not pay to win. It's like to be on par with someone that's competitive in gaming. Like, don't get me wrong. Okay, I've got a Corsair K96 keyboard with Blue Cherry.
Nice.
Shut the fuck up, you show off.
It's still. Look, I can show it on the camera.
Shut up, Scott.
It still does not make an impact on my gaming. All right, okay, it's a 0.5.
That's the same keyboard he's got.
Yeah, it's like right. It's not. It may strike the key 0.05 of a millisecond or something quicker. But you still have to take into consideration of ping deviation between the player and the other player, so on and so forth. Like I've got a Logitech G502 mouse as well, which has got hyper response buttons on the upper and the lower.
Proteus?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the G600.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it does not make me a better gamer. At all. Does not make me a better gamer. What makes me
potential.
Yeah, what makes me a better gamer is dedication, continuation, repetitiveness, and learning. If you want to get onto a competitive edge.
To sum up, you can.
Go on.
I will say this though: there is a keyboard you can get from Logitech as it goes.
The analog one.
They've got the keyboard which has basically got sort of like a claw grip to it. You've got keys. And it's also got an analog stick to it, which you can have alongside your keyboard. And the analog stick works as a WASD.
It won't make you a better gamer. It will just make things more comfortable for you.
Exactly.
I think what we can take away from this is that you can buy a DLC, you can buy things to make you better, but you can't buy skill. At the end of it, if you spend hours and hours in the game, it will show. Definitely, 100%.
We need a golden buzzer from like Britain's Got Talent or some shit, because that hit.
Ding ding ding.
Yeah, because that right there hit the nail on the head. At the end of the day, you can sit there like Lyric. All right, Lyric, the streamer. We spoke about him in the last podcast. He's got a 10 grand PC, $10,000 PC that was built for him by Origin PC. They did a live stream for it and all of that.
Yes.
Okay, but. Okay, he's not a professional gamer. There are games that he plays, like League of Legends, and I've seen him play League of Legends, and I have seen him get slapped from top lane to bot lane back to his base. Having the top gear in the world does not make you a good player. If
Doesn't make you
Michael
a better
Jordan,
gamer, 100%.
if Michael Jordan was to run around in a pair of Converse or a pair of kickers, I still reckon he could 3-point you every shot that he made.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Okay,
definitely.
so the thing to take
100%.
away from this podcast before we wrap this up, is literally going to be the last 30 seconds. You can pay for DLC, you can pay for anything in the game that you want, but you cannot buy the grind. It's as simple as that. Thank you for tuning in, folks. Thank you for watching Pass the Bleach. I'm now going to pass the bleach over to you, so make sure you take a drink and you join us next week when we talk about the history of gaming and what games set the guidelines for each platform. And I think that's going to be a very, very good topic to talk about. Guys, if you're watching on Twitch and you've enjoyed watching this podcast, make sure you follow me on Twitch and get notified every time I go live. I do live stream on Twitch as well. I play League of Legends mostly for now, until I get my new PC in a good couple of months' time. If you're watching on YouTube and you did enjoy this video, make sure you
I'll help you build that.
Shut up.
He's really bad. Really bad.
Shut up. If you're watching this on YouTube and you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you slap a like on the video and make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that, and make sure you have that bell button checked to be notified next time the podcast goes live. I don't know what my work rota is for next week, so I'm not too sure what day the podcast will be, but if you want to keep notified, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Josh Pavitt, basically the same as my YouTube name. Guys, thank you for watching. This has been Pass the Bleach. Have a fucking good one. Peace.
See ya.